I wonder why do so many smart entrepreneurs and investors, despite of having these great conversations, they struggle to convert them into actual opportunity for themselves. So, what could be the reason?
Well, they don't have a formula. They don't have intent. And so you got to bear with me. I'm a former teacher, so everything I do either rhymes or it's alliterative. And so we created my partners and my co-founders are Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson and Dave Ward. I call us the professor, the performer, and the producer because my background's academia. Coach Jimmy was a Broadway actor, and Dave's an attorney. And so we have what we call our 5 C's framework. And so the 5 C's of communication to create a well-crafted story are you need clarity, you need to be able to connect with your audience, you need to teach meaningful content that serves your audience, you need one clear call to action, and finally, you need an emotional close that gets people jumping out of their seats working with you because I only have one way I evaluate your effectiveness as a speaker. I have clients that'll come up to me, Vinky, and they say, I got a standing ovation. I'm like, good for you.
Most entrepreneurs do not have a lead problem. They have a communication problem. They are in conversation every day, pitching, explaining, networking, and sharing their story. But very few of those conversations actually convert. Not because they're not smart, not because they don't have a great opportunity, but because they do not know how to structure a conversation that builds trust and moves people to action. Today's guest has spent decades mastering exactly this. I am joined by Dr. Danny Brassell, who brings a very unique energy to the world of communication and influence. Dr. Danny Brassell is a highly sought after speaker, trainer, and coach, often described as Jim Carrey with PhD. I love that. He has spoken to over 3,500 audiences worldwide and authored 21 books. And as a matter of fact, he's on number 22. We were talking earlier. And I think the famous ones are Leadership Begins with Motivation and Myths and Crackpots. As the co-founder of Well-Crafted Story, Danny helps entrepreneurs, individuals, and organizations leverage speaking as a powerful client acquisition strategy that actually converts. And today we're diving into something every investor, every entrepreneur, and capital raiser needs to master: how to turn every conversation into opportunity. Danny, welcome to the Wealth Vibe Show. I'm super excited to have you with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Vinky. More importantly, thank you for spreading some joy in the world. We need a lot more of you, my friend.
Oh, so sweet. Thank you. So, our topic for today is the 5C system turn conversations into capital. So, Danny, let's start here. You have spoken to thousands of audience around the world. Was there a moment where you realized that communication directly impacts your ability to create opportunities and generate income? And what shaped that realization for you?
Well, absolutely, Venki. Well, it was William Shakespeare who said all the world is a stage. And so I'm working with clients, pointing out that when we put together your presentation, it's appropriate for ballrooms, for boardrooms, for courtrooms, for classrooms. Heck, one of my clients, he did a pitch in a restroom. Hopefully, he washed his hands afterwards. But you can use this anywhere because this is how business is done. It's through communication skills. If you can master these, you're going to be much more effective as a leader.
So, how did you get started? And when did this realization come that, okay, this is my thing, this is my
Yeah.
forte? Earlier, like you were telling me before the recording, that how you used to go into your classroom and
Mhm.
start the conversation. I would call it break the ice,
Yeah.
right?
Well, if I was going to write an autobiography, Vinky, it would be called Pivots because I feel like I've already lived 9 lives. 30 years ago, I was a journalist covering President Bush Sr. in the 1992 presidential election. I loved my job. I got to meet every editor of every major daily, and one editor offered me the City Beat for $16,500 a year. Meanwhile, a friend told me they were hiring teachers in South Central Los Angeles for $25,000 a year. So I
Mhm.
became an educator for the noblest of reasons, Vinky, for the high
Mhm.
pay. And I fell in love with teaching. I've taught all age levels from preschoolers all the way up to rocket scientists. I can make that claim because I used to teach English as a second language to engineering students at the University of Southern California. And in 2005, my wife and I attended a real estate seminar, which turned out to be a scam, and we lost everything financially. And I could
Wow.
give you the woe is me story, but I'm a positive person. I learned a lot from
Mhm.
the experience. First of all, I learned that my wife is my soulmate. I put her through the ringer, and she stood right by me. She's an incredible human being. Secondly, I learned that money's not everything because you can lose money just like that. Third, I try not to judge other people, Vinky, because if I was somebody who saw what I had done, I would have said, well, you deserve that. But now I realize, unless you know everything about a person, you really don't know anything about a person. Fourth, I became a Christian, which I'm always embarrassed to confess it took a catastrophe. But the more I read the Bible, I realize I'm not the first screw up to find Jesus. And then fifth, and probably most appropriately for today's podcast, was I didn't want to file for bankruptcy. And my accountant said, well, you have to earn this much more money this year. And so I started speaking on the side and I hit that
Mhm.
number right on the number. Well, the next year,
Mhm.
he gave me a much higher number and I hit that number right on the number. So in year three, I thought, well, maybe I should set a higher number. And basically, during one of the worst economic downturns in American history, I was able to build up a highly lucrative speaking business, which eventually attracted the attention of some pretty famous people and companies who asked me to coach them. And I have to admit, I really resisted coaching for a long time because you need to know this about me. I'm obsessive compulsive, Vinky. I will not let you fail. I will be on your back, holding you accountable until you succeed. Well, now that I work primarily with entrepreneurs and business people, business owners, executives who pay me a lot of money, I find that they're highly motivated. They do the work, and it's probably been the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. So we can go down whatever path you choose, but really, in terms of engagement, those years spent in the classroom really served me well, Vinky, because I learned what works with older students doesn't necessarily work with kindergartners. But what works with kindergartners works with all age levels. I call kindergarten New York, New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere because they have about a 7 minute attention span. And it served me well in my own presentations and helping my clients create better presentations as well.
Wow. I really love that, how you said if you can work with the kindergartens, you can work with anybody. Because if you can make them understand where you're coming from, basically you can help anybody around the world, and which you're doing. This is amazing. So, when I think about it, a lot of people listening right now to, I would say, they are constantly in conversations because they're conversing with themselves or outside, maybe to the investors, or they go to the events like networking events or the parties. There's some casual introductions, conversations. But I have seen a lot of time people say, I do this much, I do that much, but it does not take me anywhere. So I wonder, why do so many smart entrepreneurs and investors, despite of having these great conversations, they struggle to convert them into actual opportunity for themselves? So what could be the reason?
Well, they don't have a formula. They don't have intent. And so you got to bear with me. I'm a former teacher, so everything I do either rhymes or it's alliterative. And so we created my partners and I, my co-founders are Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson and Dave Ward. I call us the professor, the performer, and the producer because my background's
Mhm.
academia. Coach Jimmy was a Broadway actor and Dave's an attorney. And so we have what we call our 5 C's framework. And so the 5 C's of communication to create a well-crafted story are you need clarity, you need to be able to connect with your audience, you need to teach meaningful content that serves your audience, you need one clear call to action, and finally, you need an emotional close that gets people jumping out of their seats working with you because I only have one way I evaluate your effectiveness as a speaker. I have clients that'll come up to me, Vinky, and they say, I got a standing ovation. I'm like, good for you. Or many will say, people think I'm a great speaker. I'm like, that's wonderful to hear. The only way I evaluate your effectiveness as a presenter is how many people in your audience decided to take the next step with you. Now, it can be an unpaid next step, like subscribe to my podcast, or if I'm working with a politician, vote for me. More typically, when I'm working with my clients, they're offering paid offers like buy my product or invest in my coaching program. We want to
Mhm.
know our numbers, how many people in that audience are deciding to take that next step with you. And that's why clarity, the first C in the five C's, is so important. There are two questions I ask clients all the time. And if you can answer these questions succinctly, you're in pretty good shape. But if you can't, you're going to struggle putting together a presentation. And you'd be amazed, 95% of my clients cannot answer one or both of these questions in a clear manner. Those two questions are, who is your audience and what is the problem that you solve? When you're clear about the answers to both of those questions, then we can get into putting together your presentation.
So, if I'm a capital raiser or an entrepreneur speaking to a potential investor, how should I think about these five elements in a single conversation?
Well, again, the first and most important is to connect because we know in the first couple of minutes people are judging you immediately. And
Mhm.
so, again, former teacher, I say in the first 5 minutes of any presentation, you need to wrap. Wrap stands for you need to show you're relatable, you have to demonstrate your authority, and then finally you have to share your purpose. So, relatable. Man, I am just like you. I've had that exact same problem. Authority. And I solved that problem. Purpose. And now I'm on a mission to help people just like you so you don't have to suffer the way that I suffered. If you can do that in the first couple of minutes, you're going to have a much higher conversion rate. So in real estate, obviously, you want to figure out, who if you're taking around an individual home buyer, I need to learn as much about that person as possible. What are their wants? What are their needs? What interests them? Too many people are in it for themselves, right? I mean, and this serves the content portion of a presentation. People always say, Danny, I don't want to sound salesy, and my strategy is then don't sell, serve. I want you to look at your audience, whether it's 1,000 people or one person. This person is starving to death. You've got food. If they don't get your food, they will die. It gives you a different mindset than, hey, I got something that's going to help me and I need to sell it to you. One of my mentors, he used to say, when somebody offers me a $10,000 coaching program, I always say, well, if I buy your $10,000 coaching program, I know that's going to solve your problem, but I don't know if it's going to solve my problem. Well, think about your consumer, your customer, your client. When you keep them, Donald Miller has a great company called Story Brand, and I love what he says. He says, "You are the guide. Your audience, your clients are the heroes. You're supposed to guide them to that success." And that's why your industry, real estate, is so rewarding because you get to see a final result of being able to match the person with the ideal property.
Yeah, you said it very well, but what sticks to my mind is it's like, people often forget other people's need. They are always like, I, me, myself. Like, I want to say what I wanted to say. They forget that listening is a part of communication too. And I think that's where the biggest gap is for most of the people. And then when they come out, it comes out salesy. Like that was my next question, anyways, to ask you. You kind of answered that partially. So, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this five C's, for everybody. How should we use it? Like, it's kind of a smooth flow, like such a fluid kind of thing. It doesn't sound like a kind of prepared pitch when we are talking to the high net worth individuals. I'm just going to talk from my industry for the time being, if that's
That's
okay
fine.
with you.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that this works. I was in India and I was just touring schools. This is in 2018. And this one principal, he opens up a door and there's 5,000 kids in an auditorium. There's 20 newspapers and five TV stations. And he announces to the kids, and now for the next hour, Dr. Brassell is going to teach you the three secrets to reading better. Vinky, nobody's told me I'm speaking, and I have no such speech for an hour. But I got 5,000 kids. I got media there. And fortunately, it was India, so I get to slow down my speech. So I look at the kids and I'm like, today, I am going to teach you the three secrets to reading better. Who wants to learn the three secrets to reading better. And the kids are going wild. And in my head, I'm like, what the heck are the three secrets to reading better? And in 30 seconds, using this exact same formula, I put together a presentation that was broadcast to 1.5 billion people. And now I have a company based on that presentation. I can tell you this works. Connection, when you're connecting, I'm a big fan of people always ask me, how do you get better at speaking? There's two ways you get better at speaking. First of all, I've been blessed, had lots of wonderful coaches and mentors throughout my career. One of my mentors was a guy named Jim Rohn, and Jim used to say, you can't pay other people to do your push-ups.
Yes.
Translation, you got to do the work. I guarantee you, Vinky, the very first time you did this podcast, it stunk. And the second time you did the podcast, it stunk, but it didn't stink as bad as the first time. And now you've been doing it for a while. It's becoming a finely tuned machine. You're built up your confidence. I mean, most of the people that I work with, they're not interested in speaking whatsoever. They're interested in growing their business. A lot of them are terrified of being on stages. And what I want to do is help build up their confidence. And one of the best ways to build up your confidence is doing the reps. You got to do your reps. The second way you get better at speaking is you got to watch lots of speakers. I mean, I watch 10 speakers a day. I watch politicians, I watch televangelists, I watch comedians, I watch them in front of big groups, in front of small groups, I watch them in front of men, in front of women. Here's a ninja strategy I share with my clients. I watch a lot of televised award shows. And the reason is when the person wins the Academy Award, they only have 45 seconds to talk to the audience. I want to see how they use their time. Now, most people, they waste their time. They get up there like, I want to thank God. I
Uh-huh.
want to thank the Academy. It's stupid. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody's paying attention. But every now
Right.
and then a person nails it. So a few years ago, there was a gentleman by the name of Joe Walker who won the Academy
Mhm.
Award for Best Film Editing. Now, this is Hollywood. The important people are in the front of the room, the actors. And the camera
Mhm.
scanning the crowd, you can see they're not interested. This is film editing. And Joe Walker gets on stage. He's British. He speaks very slowly and deliberately. He says, a lot of people don't know this, but when phrased properly, the term Academy Award nominee can be used as an insult. Well, now the camera scans the audience. You see people
Something
taking
different.
in like, what's he talking about? And he says, for example, yesterday I got in an argument with my 17-year-old daughter, and she said, well, Academy Award nominee Joe Walker. All of a sudden, you see everybody laughing hysterically. He gets off stage. Denzel Washington wants to meet him. Sandra Bullock wants to meet him. Brad Pitt wants to meet him. Time magazine said he was one of the highlights of the Academy Awards. Well done, Joe Walker. That's 45 seconds. I don't know many. I work with realtors all the time that are doing their pitches, and I'm like, okay, let's make sure. Let's have the 1 hour. Let's have the 1 hour pitch. Let's also have the 30-minute pitch, the 20-minute pitch, the 15-minute pitch, the 7-minute pitch, the 3-minute pitch, the 1 minute pitch, the 30-second pitch. Because when you have it all ready, you've built your confidence. You need those reps. And so I'm working with people. Usually, the easiest way to connect with people, like I'm a little bit different than other coaches, Vinky, because a lot of coaches will tell you the way to build trust with an audience is to share the most traumatic story of your life. Well, there's three reasons why I refuse to do that. First of all, the world just survived a global pandemic. Everybody's had bad things happen to them. I don't think we need more sad stories. I think we need more uplifting stories of hope.
Exactly. I agree
Secondly,
with you 100%.
thank you, Vinky. And that's why I listen to your podcast. It's always uplifting. Secondly, I'm teaching my clients to create what I call a well-crafted story. Politicians would call it a stump speech. I've heard people call it a signature talk. You can call it peanut butter and jelly. It doesn't matter what you call it. This is a presentation that
Hmm.
you can deliver again and again. It's going to become
Hmm.
ingrained in your mind like the Lord's Prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. You're not going to have to think about it. Well,
Hmm.
do you really want to share the worst moment of your life again and again? I mean, I have a friend, his daughter was killed in a school shooting. He's told that story over 1,000 times. I mean, you got to be a lot stronger than me to talk about the worst day of your life. I don't know how he does that. And third, and this is where people get angry with me, I have one basic objective when I'm on stage. I want you to leave feeling better than when you came in. I want you laughing, smiling, happy. I think there's something admirable about having that as a basic objective. I think the people that tell the same sad story again and again, By the 20th time they're telling it, now those are crocodile tears and now they're being manipulative. And I'm not saying it's not an effective sales strategy. It's actually a very effective sales strategy and people abuse it all the time. I personally don't want to have to take a shower once I get off stage because I just manipulated my audience. There are ethical ways to get people to want to do business with you, and I only want to work with ethical people with integrity. And so, for your audience of realtors, there's all kinds of different ways that we can help them. But again, they need to know, so you said high wealth individuals. Okay. So high wealth individuals, I'm not going to take them to shantytown to houses like that. I'm going to get to learn about little things, quirks. This is how you make connection is what do we have in common? I've always thought that the easiest way to build trust, Brene Brown, she's a wonderful speaker, and she talks about the importance of vulnerability. And I completely agree with her on that. And so this would be the
Me
strategy I would
too.
share with your audience, Vinky. Stop sharing your successes. Start sharing your failures. Because not everybody in your audience has succeeded, but they've all failed. And the more you share your own failures, the more your audience is going to see themselves in you. And that's ultimately what you're trying to do in any presentation is to connect with that audience to guide them towards your ultimate call to action. That's why you need to know what's the problem you're solving. What is it you want the audience to do? This goes back to your original question, why a lot of people fail. They don't know what they want. I mean, I was on a podcast the other day and the podcast hostess at the end, she said, "I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, and give us a 5-star review." And we got off the air, and I turned to her. I said, "You just asked your audience to do 3 things. They're not going to do any of them." And again, former
One
teacher,
thing. Mhm.
yeah. Choices confuse and cause you to lose. One thing, you got it right, Vinky. I mean, if you look at the largest grocery store chains in America, Kroger's, Publix, Food Lion, Ralph's, Smith's, whatever, none of them are the number one grocery store in America based on volume. The number one
Mhm.
grocery store in America based on volume is Trader Joe's. And the reason is when you go into one of these big grocery stores looking for mustard, there's 38 different types of mustard. When you go into Trader Joe's, there's one. It's called mustard.
One.
They made the choice
Exactly.
for you. That's
Easy
what a
to
good
find.
presenter does. Yep, that's what a good presenter does.
Oh my God. I love that. I love your mindset. I love everything, whatever you said. And I completely agree with you on each and everything that you said. Talk about sad stories. I know I see that all around me. People always talk about sad stories. Excuse my voice. I can barely talk today.
It's great. You're a trooper.
But I wanted to speak to you, so I don't wanted to miss this opportunity because why I feel that people talk about the sad times. I think it's easier for people to talk about sad times versus the good times because the good times they don't even remember a lot of times.
That's
It's
right.
like it just went by so fast.
Well,
Oh, my son was born, I got married, this is it. So, but what happened of that misery they carry years after year, and they keep on repeating over and over again, and by default they are attracting that towards them, and that's the part of failure as well, number one in my dictionary. So
mhm.
let's step back a little bit now since we talk about all the communication and how people are trying to create their positioning or their branding based on their
Mhm.
sad stories. A lot of times we see that. So I think mindset plays a big role in this. So I wanted to tap into your mindset because you have amazing, amazing experiences throughout your journey called life. And then you've been helping other people too to figure out where they are in their life and how they can strategize their thought process, their mindset. So I wanted to hear that journey. If you can share that with us, how your mindset helped you get here and how important it is to rewire your mind to do better and get better outcomes.
Well, thank you for that, Vinky. I'm very blessed. I have a positive attitude. I've always been surrounded by, I had wonderful parents that were encouraging. I had teachers and mentors and friends that have always been uplifting. I love the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, where he's in the
My favorite
constant,
book.
it's a wonderful book, a nice short book too. And everything's been taken from him in the concentration camp, and he realizes that the one thing they can't take away from him is his attitude. And I completely agree with that. I was watching this horrible show on TV the other day called the news, and it totally depressed me. And I'm like, I turned it off. I'm like, get away from me. There's a great speaker. He's no longer with us, but his name was Keith Harrell. And Keith used to say, a lot of people say garbage in, garbage out. He's like, that's not right. Garbage in, garbage stays. Somebody
Days.
tells you, somebody
I
tells
agree.
you, somebody tells you bad things enough, you start believing them. But I know
Mhm.
you and I both agree the opposite's true. You keep on telling a person that they're going to succeed, they actually start believing it. I used to tell my students, I'm like, hey, sometimes you need somebody else to believe in you before you believe in yourselves. I believe in all of you. They only give me the best and the brightest. Now let's go out and make this world a better place. I think if the kids hear that enough times, they start believing that. But I had that. That was the environment. I mean, I have a photograph. My wife grew up in Singapore in the most negative environment possible. People telling her what she couldn't do her entire life. Whereas I have a photograph of me when I was 4 years old wearing space boots, a San Diego Charger football jersey, a sheriff's badge, and a fireman's helmet because I was going to be the first ever astronaut, professional football player, police officer, and firefighter. That's the world I grew up in, and that's one of the reasons I love being a teacher is I think every kid deserves to grow up in an environment where they believe that they can do anything. So this is where you and I completely are aligned. Mindset is everything. And one of my mentors, Charlie Tremendous Jones, used to say, "You're the same today as you will be in 5 years, except for two things: the books you read and the people you meet." So make sure you
Yes,
read
yes.
really positive books and make sure you surround yourself with people that lift you up.
That's so true. But I think a lot of time is the childhood conditioning. Like you
Mhm.
said it very well.
Yep.
If you start telling the kids you're going to succeed, when the kids are young, it's not like they're forcing them. You're just giving them direction. It's up to them, whatever they can choose later on. But if the upbringing is right, if you give them enough experiences to explore, to choose from, they turn out good. And then, but what happened is what I see, the conditioning is like so boxed for most of the people. They're like, set patterns, set box. This is this tunnel vision. That's how you're going to live your rest of your life. So it's
Yeah.
very hard to break those patterns. So, do you teach people some strategies there too? So, how to, get outside the box or think a little bit outside of your patterns or how to recognize your patterns that, oh, I'm 40 years old, but I'm following the same pattern that I used to do that when I was 10.
Yeah.
It's a different situation, different scenario, but still same thing.
My coaching clients don't pay me for that, but they get it rubbed off on them from me. Uh, two of my roommates in college, they were having a conversation on the phone. It was great because one of my former roommates, he had this horrible disease, and so he called up my other roommate, Dave, and Dave told him, he said, "Oh, call Danny, because Danny will convince you that not only is it good that you have this disease, but it's probably the best thing ever to happen to you." And that's the way I choose to live. I mean, I could choose to. That's why I love the movie Rocky. That's why everybody loves Rocky. Rocky's not the
Mhm,
best fighter, but he takes a beating. He always gets back up. And that's what I always love. He always gets back up. You can never
mhm,
fail if you keep on getting back up. When you let
mhm.
people defeat you, J.K. Rowling said it in Harry Potter, don't let the muggles get you down. You keep on getting back up. Um, you know, I love the quote by Max Levchin. A lot of people don't know who Max Levchin is, and I can't. I'm going to paraphrase the quote, but he said, "My first company was a complete failure. My second one wasn't much better. My third one, we were starting to get there. My fourth one almost succeeded. My fifth one was PayPal." Well, if it only takes you four failures before you get to $1 billion company, you're doing pretty well. But
That's so true.
he didn't let people keep him down. Like, and there's people like that all around you. And then but then you have to watch out. And this is why I love you're addressing this, Vinky. There are people that want to drag you down. There are people. I have an uncle who's the most informed person on the planet. He watches the news 24/7. I asked him if the president had asked him to be an advisor because he's so well informed. I mean, he's always griping about something. He's part of the problem. Anybody can gripe. Anybody can be part of the problem. I want to be around the people that are looking for solutions. People like you. There's people out there with positive energy. Okay, here's the problem. I guess I feel like I have that Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland attitude from the 1940s. Oh, the town's broke. Let's put on a show. We can save the town. But
Mhm.
I've never seen President Eisenhower when he was a general. He said pessimism never won any battles. He's right.
That's so true. Yeah.
Anybody that ever accomplished anything, they had a bunch of naysayers telling them they couldn't do, and it can't be done until it can be.
That's so true. And I think you brought up the really good point. By the end of the day, people invest in people, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to again in my arena, in my real estate. So I wanted to ask you this question. What role does emotional connection play in decision making, especially when it comes to investing in the high trusted environments like in real estate, because we are dealing with our stakes are higher, dealing with the high net worth individuals and how to create that emotional connection or how to nurture that. I think most importantly after that, because it's not like that you made the connection one time and okay, I had a good conversation with Danny and kind of set it and forget it. No, you wanted to nurture that, so whenever you need something or you have any question, you should be able to pick up the phone and then call that person. Or if they need something, they should feel comfortable enough to pick up a phone and call you. Hey, do you have any investment for me to look at it? Or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if humans were logical, then everybody would be driving a safe car. Actually, nobody would be driving at all because if we were logic driven, we'd look at the statistics and say, well, that's too
Mhm,
dangerous. I'm going to walk everywhere. Humans are not logic driven, they're emotion driven.
mhm.
All people, it was Joseph Stalin who said a million dead is a statistic, one person dead is a tragedy. Translation: facts tell, stories sell. Facts inform, stories transform. Getting to when I'm working with clients on their presentations, I'm working with, by the way, whenever I talk about my clients, I give them acronym. I give them different names because I believe in discretion. All you have to do is ask my business partner, Jimmy. He loves to name everybody we work with. I believe in a little bit of discretion. But we're working with, she's one of the top nutritionists in the world. Her name, I'm going to call her Dr. Kathy. And so Dr. Kathy, her presentation, she's ending her presentation with her call to action, which is a 90-day nutritional program for women for 1997. And she ended her presentation. I'm like, whoa, 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 big mistake. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you have to understand something, Dr. Kathy. There are two people in your audience, two types of people. I'm going to call, I'll be stereotypical and say it's the husband and the wife. So
Mhm.
the husband is Joe Friday. Joe Friday's sitting there in your audience. He's looking at you skeptically, like, who is this person? What are they trying to sell me? What do I got to do? How long is it going to take? And it's very important to have a very clear call to action, which Dr. Kathy had. But if you end on your call to action, which a lot of people do, you're ignoring the wife. The wife I call Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts doesn't care how much it costs. She just wants to feel good. I listen to Vinkey's podcast because it always makes me feel good. I get so many great strategies from Vinkey. And so Dr. Kathy had a problem in her presentation. I'm like, we're going to easily double your conversion rate just by adding an emotional close. And she's like, well, how do I do that? I'm like, well, what do you want your audience to do? And she said, I want them to buy my coaching program. I'm like, yes, I know you want them to buy your coaching program. Went like back and forth like that for 5 minutes. Eventually, she let it slip. She let slip her motivation. She's like, I want them to understand they can't do this on their own. Oh, you need to hire an expert story. She's like, what's that? I'm like, I'll give you an example. I'll leave you all with this. Many years ago, my wife and I, we had theater tickets. We were dressed to the nines, drive into the theater when we got a flat tire. And my wife said, well, I'll call AAA and get a tow truck. I looked at her, I'm like, you don't have to call AAA. I'm a man. I can fix a flat tire. So I got out of the car, I opened up the trunk, and I got the spare tire, and then I got the pumper thing, and I got the big jack thing, and started trying to take off the nuts off of the tire. And 27 minutes later, I have grease all over my hands. I have not fixed the flat tire. I look up. My wife is standing beside the car with her arms crossed, shaking her head with a look that says, I could have done so much better than this guy. Well, unbeknownst to me, she had called AAA 27 minutes earlier. And this tow truck shows up. And this 17-year-old punk hops out of the tow truck and proceeds to fix my flat tire in 3 minutes flat. You know, I think there are a lot of times in life when all of us think we can do it on our own. But if you want to save time, you want to save money, and you want to save a whole lot of headache and embarrassment, you hire an expert. And so, what
That's
I've given Dr. Kathy now, Vinky, is a story that's a metaphor that gets the audience thinking, you know what? I've tried lots of other diets before and they never worked. But Dr. Kathy really seems to know what she's talking about. Maybe I just need to do with this program because that's how I'm going to succeed. That's what you're trying to do. Is that's the difference between a good presentation and a great presenter. The good presenters, they tell stories. The great presenters, they tell stories with intention that drive you to that next action. And this is what your audience has to understand is how do I get them to that next action? I mean, I my favorite real estate client I ever had, and I have to say this, your results may vary. Gustavo. Gustavo should be president of the United States. So Gustavo came to America 30 years ago without a dime. He didn't speak a word of English, did every menial job possible, invested every dime he had in real estate. 30 years later, he's worth $40 million. And so Gustavo his coaching program, he has a coaching program to teach people his system of acquiring real estate, and it's a 4 month system, and it costs $40,000. All right. You have to understand, Minky, I work with people in a lot of offers. $40,000 is a very high ticket offer. But I told him exactly what I told you earlier. I said, hey, one of the ways you get better, you got to do reps. You got to practice your pitch. And he's like, well, I'm going on a podcast tonight. I'm like, here's my phone number. Call me tomorrow. I want you to do the pitch. Tell me how you did. So he calls me the next day, Vinky. He's like, Danny, you are a genius. I'm like, did you go on the podcast? He's like, yes. I'm like, did you make your pitch? He's like, yes. I'm like, did you sell any? He's like, 23.
Wow.
Wait a sec. My background's reading. My expertise is in reading, not math, Vinky. But if I'm doing my math correctly, Gustavo made over $900,000 that night on a presentation we had put together that afternoon. And since then, he's made 8 figures off of this talk. And the reason I use him as an example, what I love about Gustavo, yeah, it's great that he made all that money, but what I love about him, which is what separates you, by the way, from most people, he did the work. He actually did it.
Mhm.
Most people
Mhm.
talk, 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 and they don't do a thing, which is great for people like you and me because we walk it too. We'll work. We'll work harder than anybody else, and that's why we'll succeed.
That's so true. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So we are coming towards the end. So I'm going to ask you one last question. On the show, we talk about wealth, like I told you earlier. We don't just talk about money. We also talk about alignment, clarity, energy. That's what we've been talking about. So I wanted to learn from your experience, how your this communication mastering skills impacted your own journey in creating and expanding your wealth.
Oh, it's been everything. I mean, I had to do it out of necessity. Plus, for my client, I have a client right now. She suffers from severe stage fright, and so we're working on that with her. But the story I gave her to again connect with her, I said, when I was doing those presentations in India, I gave a presentation to a school, and the kids came up afterwards and all excited. And I looked down, there's this little boy, he's got tears in his eyes. He's about 6 years old. And I
Hmm.
realized he's missing his left arm. And he looks
Oh,
up at me, he's like, how can I succeed? And so I crouch down, I get to his eye level. I'm like, when I was your age, I went to 18 different schools before I was 12 years old. Everybody
hmm.
called me stupid because I stuttered. And eventually I went to a school where the teacher, she worked one-on-one with me. And what she would do is she'd sing things to me, and I found I could sing back and I didn't have my stutter. And eventually I lost my stutter and I became a swan. But I looked at that little boy in the eyes. I'm like, isn't it interesting that the little boy everybody used to make fun of because he couldn't speak right now gets paid ridiculous sums of money to travel the world to do what? And he gets the biggest smile on his mouth. He's like, speak. I'm like, don't let anybody ever tell you what you cannot do. So speaking has been everything for me, Venki. It's the most important thing in my journey.
That's true. I agree with you. I think it's the human potential. People don't realize that how much potential that we have, to succeed. So if you tap into yourself or turn inwards a little bit, learn who you are, it's just an amazing experience in itself. But thank you so much. So this brings us to our rapid fire round. I'm
All
going to
right.
ask you 5 questions, spontaneous answers, one word or one sentence only.
Okay.
Are you ready? We're going to go rather fast.
I'm ready.
Okay. So first question is, what is one word that defines great communication for you?
Integrity.
What is one book that has shaped the way you think?
The Success Principles by Jack Canfield.
What is one habit that has been the biggest impact on your life?
Pre-week planning.
What do you enjoy more, speaking on stage or on one-on-one conversations?
Speaking on stage, the more the merrier.
Oh, I love that. So one last one. What is your wealth vibe?
My wealth vibe, kindness. I think kindness can rule the earth if you spread it.
I like that. That's a good one, Danny. Wow. I love whatever you shared, and then if somebody wants to connect with you, learn more about your work, or wanted to explore further, how they can reach out to you.
Well, as a thank you to you, Vinky, and your audience for having to listen to me this long, I wanted to give everybody a freebie. So if you go to freestoryguide.com, guide like a tour guide, freestoryguide.com, I'm going to give everybody their own well-crafted story blueprint. What this is the actual process that Coach Jimmy Dave and I take our clients through to help you create your well-crafted story. What this does for you is it takes the guesswork out of what story should I use and where should I put it in my presentation. And what this means is you now have an actual system that converts audiences into actual clients. You can get that at freestoryguide.com. And again, Vinky, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate all that you do.
Likewise, this was such a powerful session, I would say, And if there's a one takeaway for today, I would say, it's your ability to communicate directly. And then the way you communicate, that's going to create the opportunities for you. I think that's what I'm gathering from all the conversation, back and forth with you. And I just feel like, every conversation that you have, either it builds trust or you kind of lose that connection. It's just like every word that comes out of your mouth, that should be just like that powerful, that is creating that emotional connection for you or that trust for you. So for today, I think this is it, Danny. Thanks again for being with me. And to the listeners, please stay inspired, stay intentional, and keep building your wealth vibe.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wealth Vibe Show. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget your free gift. Download the Busy Professional's Guide to Real Estate Investing at loombainvest.com. See you next time with another amazing guest and another powerful conversation.